All power and glory go to God. When a hero stumbles, well, the cowards rejoice. Nothing feels better to a coward than to watch a brave guy fall.
From a 15-second declaration on a Netflix special that the entire digital outrage industry has no jurisdiction over him, to a smoking the cigarette indoors acceptance speech at the Kennedy Center, weaponizing the Constitution against internet bloggers. Here are 10 times Dave Chappelle silenced his critics by treating the stage as a courtroom and the audience as the jury. Twitter is not a real place. Starting with the cleanest thesis statement on the docket. October 2021, Dave Chappelle has just dropped The Closer on Netflix, the most controversial special of his career. Activists have organized, employees have walked out. The entire digital court of public opinion has been convened on Twitter to render a verdict on whether Dave Chappelle should still be allowed to make money. Hashtags, threads, coordinated open letters, and in 15 seconds, on stage in a packed theater, Chappelle delivers a verdict on the digital court itself. I don't give a f***, because Twitter is not a real place. Done. 11 words. The entire tribunal, dismissed. He doesn't argue with the tweets. He doesn't engage with the threads. He denies the existence of the courtroom entirely. By declaring the battlefield fake, every weapon the prosecution holds becomes useless in the material world. Team TERF. While Twitter is not a real place was a 15-second jurisdictional ruling, the next exhibit is even shorter, 3 words long, designed to make the prosecution lose its mind. Same special, same case file. The cultural war over biological sex and gender identity is at maximum temperature. Author J.K. Rowling has just been labeled a TERF, a trans-exclusionary radical feminist, by activists demanding her cancellation. The pejorative is being deployed across social media as a verdict: career ending, reputation ending, forever canceled. Chappelle steps to the microphone and aligns himself with the most canceled woman in publishing in 3 words flat. I'm Team TERF. 3 words. Maximum leverage. The activist community is dared to come for him in the same breath as one of the most successful authors in human history. Rhetorical Aikido. Taking the prosecution's most powerful weapon and pinning it to his own chest. The Hannah Gadsby Rider. But while Team TERF was Chappelle daring the prosecution to file charges, the next exhibit shows him agreeing to meet his accusers under conditions designed to humiliate them. October 2021. Trans activist community demands a sit-down meeting. Fellow comedian Hannah Gadsby has publicly distanced herself and called his rhetoric harmful. Chappelle posts a direct-to-camera response, opening like a diplomat. To the transgender community, I am more than willing to give you an audience, but you will not summon me. I am not bending to anyone's demands. If you want to meet with me, I am more than willing to. But I have some conditions. First, you cannot come if you have not watched my special from beginning to end. You must come to a place of my choosing at a time of my choosing. And thirdly, you must admit that Hannah Gadsby is not funny. 3 demands. The first 2 sound reasonable. The third converts a moral negotiation into an aesthetic insult about a rival comedian's talent. The articulate idiot. Yet, while Hannah Gadsby got the long, structured negotiation, the next exhibit was a 40-second prosecution of a conservative pundit witness in an Ohio cornfield. June 2020. George Floyd just murdered by police in Minneapolis. The country is on fire. Conservative commentator Candace Owens releases a video heavily criticizing Floyd's criminal record, arguing the black community shouldn't turn him into a hero. Chappelle takes a socially distanced outdoor stage and treats Owens like a witness who's just perjured herself. She's the worst. I can't think of a worse way to make money. She's the most articulate idiot I've ever seen in my fucking life. We didn't choose him. You did. They killed him and that wasn't right, so he's the guy. We're not desperate for heroes in the black community. Any nigga that survives this nightmare is my goddamned hero. Articulate idiot. A lethal oxymoron that surgically separates her rhetorical fluency from her intellectual depth. This is the streets talking. But while the Candace Owens cross-examination was a partisan strike, The next exhibit was a takedown of the cable news anchor who tried to summon him. Same special, 8:46. CNN's Don Lemon has delivered an emotional on-air monologue calling out Black celebrities, demanding they stop sitting in your mansions and speak out about George Floyd. The summons goes out on prime time. Expectation is that Chappelle will appear and deliver. Chappelle does take the stage and immediately neutralizes the entire premise. This is the streets talking for themselves. They don't need me right now. Why would anyone care what their favorite comedian thinks after they saw a police officer kneel on a man's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds? The cable news prosecutor is stripped of his mandate. The demand for celebrity commentary reframed as a frivolous vanity project in the face of street-level revolution. Taking a man's livelihood. Yet, while the Don Lemon takedown was Chappelle redrawing the line between celebrity and survivor, the next exhibit shows him drawing a much harder line between cancellation and murder. October 2021. The closer. Kevin Hart has been forced to step down from hosting the Oscars after old, homophobic tweets resurfaced and the digital prosecution mobilized. The mob got their conviction. Hart lost the gig, the career milestone he'd been working toward his entire life. Chappelle, on stage, looks straight at the digital court and escalates the stakes. Taking a man's livelihood is akin to killing him. Kevin Hart dreamt his entire life of hosting the Oscars. When he finally got the job, they just took it. It's not fair. The activist mob is reframed not as accountability advocates, but as executioners. Career destruction equated with the taking of a life force. The high ground evaporates. A brittle-ass spirit. But while the Kevin Hart defense escalated digital cancellation stakes, the next exhibit is the highest-risk testimony in his career, defending a comedian during the apex of #MeToo. November 2017, comedian Louis C.K. has been credibly accused of sexual misconduct by multiple women. Chappelle, performing a small intimate set at the Comedy Store, walks straight onto the third rail. He doesn't defend the predatory act. He interrogates the modern narrative of absolute victimhood, using one accuser's framing as the example. One lady said, "Louis C.K. masturbated in front of me, ruined my comedy dreams." Word? Well, then I dare say, madam, you may have never had a dream. Come on, man, that's a brittle spirit. That is a brittle-ass spirit. That shit is too much. This is a grown-ass woman. Brittle spirit. Counsel for the defense isn't arguing the act was acceptable. He's arguing the accuser's claimed injury, that the act ended her entire career, depends on a fragility he refuses to validate. Stop punching down on my people. Yet, here's where the prosecution's case implodes entirely. August 2019, Sticks and Stones. Chappelle has spent the entire special prosecuting cancel culture for treating comedians as criminals. The trans community has called him a bigot for years. In a hidden epilogue at the very end, Chappelle tells one story, quietly, without theatrics, about Daphne Dorman, a transgender comedian, a fan of his, someone who fiercely defended him online when activist mobs came after him. Daphne Dorman died by suicide shortly after, having faced intense harassment from those same mobs for the crime of having defended him. The crowd goes silent, and Chappelle flips the entire prosecution back on itself. LBGTQ, LMNOPQYZ. It is over. I'm not telling another joke about you until we are both sure we are laughing together. All I ask, with all humility, will you please stop punching down on my people? Thank you very much, and good night. Stunned silence into massive standing ovation. Structural checkmate. He's used a member of the marginalized group to validate his humanity, then co-opted his prosecutor's own language and applied it back to comedians. The theater for artistic freedom. But while the Daphne Dorman epilogue was the moral checkmate of his career, the next ruling was delivered to the youngest jury Chappelle ever faced, his own high school, June 2022, Duke Ellington School of the Arts. After the closer, students at his alma mater have fiercely protested the school's decision to name a theater after him. held contentious Q&A sessions, yelled at him, questioned his morality. Administration set up the formal naming ceremony anyway. Students show up expecting a defensive speech. Chappelle delivers a verdict that strips them of all leverage. If you have a better idea, then express it. And you can beat me. It's that easy. If you have more talent than me, then display it. And you can beat me, with certainty. Rather than give this theater my name, I would like to give these students my message. To them, this theater should be called the Theater for Artistic Freedom and Expression. Refuses the honor, removes the leverage. The mob can't cancel an honor that's already been willingly surrendered. The second is just in case. Yet, while the Duke Ellington naming refusal silenced the youngest jury he'd faced, the absolute mic drop was delivered at the highest court in American comedy, October 2019, Kennedy Center, Washington, D.C. Mark Twain Prize for American Humor, the most prestigious comedy honor in the United States. Audience: the political and artistic elite, congresspeople, senators, ambassadors, fellow legends. Chappelle walks on stage, lights a cigarette, indoors, in a federally regulated building, bucking institutional rules in front of the institution honoring him, then delivers 35 seconds reframing stand-up as a constitutional mandate. The First Amendment is first for a reason. The Second Amendment is just in case the first one doesn't work out. Apex Flex. The foundational text of the United States is weaponized against internet bloggers. Defense of a dirty joke elevated into the same constitutional sentence as the right to bear arms. The political elite laughing nervously. The court silenced. Proving that no matter how loud the digital prosecution gets, no matter how many institutions sign on to the indictment, when Dave Chappelle takes the stand, the case against comedy collapses on its own evidence.